Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Surviving the Week, where each week I tell you about all the things that made me want to hit the fuck it button and the things that helped me survive it. The first bit of positivity this week. My hair is pretty much back to blonde after a lot of washing and some purple shampoo strategically placed. Other than these little bits that still have a hint of yellow, it's looking pretty good. I'm pretty proud of this. I'm impressed with myself, and I will not be doing any more experimenting with my hair. Not for a little while, at least. It was Mother's Day, and I had a lovely day lying in bed, watching TV, and generally just relaxing, which was very much needed. And here is my beautiful gift. Look. It's so sparkly and shiny. In a truly shocking turn of events, I haven't had any bad luck this week. No injuries, no accidents, nothing breaking. It's been pretty good. This week we were late to school for the first time this half term, which, although bad, I'm still taking as a pretty big win. We've made it a full half term with only one late, and that is an achievement compared to the previous one, and the one before that. And the one before that. I treated my kids to a new playhouse from Aldi for only £10, which is amazing. The only problem is it doesn't have a floor, so I don't know how I'm going to weigh it down in the garden, and currently it's taking up space in the living room. And it is not a small object. We've had lots of lovely sunshine, so it's definitely time to get the garden summer ready, which also means it is time to rearrange the living room. I said the last time I rearranged it, they wouldn't be able to stay like this for summer because my bed is basically blocking the back door, and I want the kids to be able to run outside without doing somersaults over my clean bedding. Thank you very much. So this week we will be rearranging all of the furniture in a way that I have never had it before, which is going to be interesting. I don't know if it's going to work because we have this weird flooring where it's like the room has been split into two, but not actually. And I'm going to try and convince my brain to ignore it. I'm not sure how that will work. I got a notification this week that my mother, who I thought was blocked, liked one of my videos on Facebook. Now, this kind of led me into a deep dive of scrolling through her page because all of her posts these days appear to be public, in which I found that she had been posting photos of my children publicly. Now, in the modern world, we don't do that. And I was forced to unblock her in order to tell her that she could not do that, which she ignored until I commented publicly, demanding that she take it down and telling her to educate herself on why you shouldn't share children's images online, particularly if they're not your fucking children. The truly disturbing thing was the insane amount of God shit she's been posting, which is just fucking weird. And a whole lot of stuff about the war that's kind of scary. And all of this has just reinforced that I definitely need to stay no contact because I know I am not Chad Colton. I don't want to have the necessary conversation. I'm not doing it. No, thank you. I originally reduced contact back in 2022 when she was having a mental health crisis. I started off trying to help her, trying to get her support. Nobody would listen to me. And she is very, very good at playing the professionals and convincing people she's fine. She knows what to say. She knows how to act, even when she's manic. which is pretty scary when you think about it. I started reducing contact, still allowing contact with my children, but just keeping my distance until it got to a point where her having contact with my children was not safe for them anymore. She was making up lies, making false reports, trying to tell people that we were abusing our kids. It was fucking insane. To start with, professionals were listening to her, which was really, really scary. And luckily, when she lost her shit and showed her true colors, they realized that everything I had been saying about her mental state was actually true. And they advised me to cut contact and started supporting my decision rather than judging it. If only they had listened to me in the first place, then a lot of damage wouldn't have been done. Obviously, at the start of the year, as you may remember, she emailed me threatening to take action to get access to my kids, which thankfully hasn't happened. But her insane social media alone is pretty good evidence of why she still should not have contact with my children, and that will not be happening, like, ever. Oh, but what if she dies? What do you mean? How will that impact my life in any way? Like, it literally will not impact me. It won't change anything about my life. My children will be sad. They will grieve. I already grieved. I lost my mum the day she decided to turn on me. I said to her, don't do this. If you do this, if you make these false reports against me, you will lose me. We will never have a relationship again. I will be done. She did it anyway. I try and justify that she was sick. And people say, you know, you've forgiven other people with mental health issues. Why can't you forgive her? Because I already did. I already forgave so many other things. Like, I was effectively her carer for the first 30 years of my life. And that's not my job anymore. And I'm just no. Maybe if someone else whose behavior I have forgiven due to mental health issues, maybe after 30 years, I'll feel the same way about them. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, I guess. There were also photos of me as a baby with the caption, "The baby in this photo doesn't speak to me anymore." And whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? Because it sure as shit ain't mine. And this is the problem. This is the problem with the boomer generation whose kids are going no contact. They think that it's some sort of, you know, trendy new craze. It's fucking not. It's because you're the problem. You are the problem and you won't admit it. And it's not actually hard to just go, you know what? I'm really sorry for being a shit person, and be genuine about it. Actually be sorry, not just, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a terrible mother. And you know what makes me really angry? The video that she liked this week. The video that she liked this week was a clip from last week's episode of Surviving the Week, where I was talking about how scary it is to raise girls and the fear of them being assaulted. I mean, the audacity to like a video about that and to not be sorry. She should be sorry. Because she's admitted that she knew something wrong. Something was wrong when I was little. She first knew something was wrong when I was 2. And she didn't do anything. Because she was too sick. Because the mental health issues aren't new. They are long-standing from before I was born. I spent the first 4 months of my life in a mother and baby psych unit. It's not new. And when I was a toddler, she was too ill to do anything about the fact that she knew something was wrong. So why isn't she sorry? Why isn't she sorry? She should be sorry. As a parent, if something happens to your child, whether or not you think realistically you could have done anything about it, you should be sorry. You should feel guilt. As a parent, you should feel guilt if something happens to your child. Always. It's time for the weekly mental health check-in. And how is my mental health this week? Brilliant, obviously. Other than the shit with my mother, which has obviously impacted me, there's been a whole lot of other shit this week that I can't talk about. Well, I could, but I won't, because I'm trying to be a good person. Aren't they lucky? The long story short is that people are disgusting and a bunch of cunts, and I hate everyone. I strongly recommend that people go watch Frozen 2 and learn Anna's song, okay? And just do the next right thing. If you're not sure what the next right thing is, I suggest befriending somebody with a moral compass and more than 2 brain cells so that they can help advise you. There's been a meningitis outbreak in the UK, which is also scary, and I'm pretty sure another sign of Armageddon. If World War III doesn't kill us all, this might. Thankfully, all of my children are fully vaccinated, so they should be safe unless it turns out they have some sort of underlying health issue that causes a poor immune system. So we should be okay. But the main issue here is, what the fuck? What the fuck? How the fuck? Why the fuck? Some people cannot be vaccinated for various reasons, allergies, immune system issues. I have a family member who cannot have vaccines because of an egg allergy. And that's totally fine. Do you know what that means? That means all of the rest of us need to be vaccinated to keep that person safe in order to protect the most vulnerable. The rest of us have to do the right thing, which is get fucking vaccinated. Now, am I saying that there are absolutely no issues with vaccines? No, I'm not saying that at all. There are people who have very severe reactions to vaccines because they don't know that there's an underlying health issue or that there's an allergy already. And that can be fatal, and that is awful. But in general, vaccines are a good thing. And I think people have been given way too much leeway on saying no to them if you do not have a valid reason. Now, the valid reason could be that there is a family member who had a severe reaction to a vaccine. That is reasonable because then the family might be at more risk. I'm sure there's testing and things that can be done for that. I don't know. It's insane to me to refuse something that could literally save your life. Vaccines are changing all the time and medicine is improving all the time. But in order for it to work, we have to actually use it. Some diseases have been eradicated by vaccines. And I personally don't want to go back to a time where there are so many children dying from meningitis and measles and polio. Why would anyone fucking want that? These raw milk bitches need to stop. Stop. Donald Trump is still upset with the UK for not joining him in his war, but we still seem to have American jets taking off from British soil to go partake in the war. And personally, I think that needs to stop. I think their bases should be closed down in the UK. They should not be allowed to operate from here, because otherwise we're the bad guys. And that's not a good thing. Even journalists reporting on the war are being targeted by Israel, which is fucking insane. The thing is, saying, no, we're not going to join you isn't good enough. Everyone needs to be condemning the actions of the USA. Everyone. They need to be kicked out of NATO. They need to be kicked out of the UN. They have become a fascist dictatorship. Their focus is causing destruction all over the world. They cannot be allowed to continue without people standing up and saying no. In the UK, Reform have introduced a new policy where they are planning to sack every single civil servant if they get into power, which is crazy, because the whole point of civil servants is that they have to be neutral. They have to be. It's part of the job. So if you kick everyone out of Downing Street, who the fuck's going to run it? Are they not meant to be upholding tradition? Is that not like one of their things? Is tradition? Yeah, how are you going to uphold tradition if all of the people with the knowledge about tradition are gone? And you just have a bunch of idiotic fucking fascists sitting there going, oh, well, we didn't know we were meant to be doing that. Nobody told us. Yeah, because you fired them. I mean, we just have to keep on hoping that they do not get into power, because God help us all if they all do. We're fucked. The clips from last week's episode have made the fascists very, very angry on both sides of the pond. And so I thought I'd read you a few of my favourites. A white person talking about privilege? To which somebody said, yeah, because white people shouldn't be empathetic towards other people, because that's not why all these problems exist in the first place. Please explain what's wrong with white people being activists. Which is a brilliant question. It's a problem when white women blame black men for their privilege. But I haven't mentioned black men at all. No, it's you fake feminists. You say this shit while advocating for foreigners who rape as culture, nonce as culture, see women as third-class citizens, pin down little girls and take their privates off, on and on it goes. Sorry, but you lot need to be ignored entirely on this. 16,000 essay in the UK in 2015. Only 10 years later, it is now approximately 68,498 essay incidents a year. What you think the 11 million third worlders have nothing to do with that 1,000% increase? I'm going to go ahead and guess the increase is because people report more. I don't know if these figures are correct. Based on this guy's fucking insane comments on Threads, I'm going to assume that it is not true. But there probably is an increase in reports. That's not because there's an increase in violence. It's just because it's much harder to convince us that we haven't been assaulted. It's much harder to suppress our voices in the modern world. I reported an assault in 2009. And I remember them telling me at the time, only 20% of reports are approved by CPS to go to court. And only 1% result in a conviction of those 20. So that's less than 1% of reports. He carried on. Shut up, you basket case woman. Nobody gives a shit for your fake feminism. Now go pretend you're downtrodden while another few thousand girls are pinned down and mutilated. Until that's dealt with, you adults can fuck off, frankly. Clown woman, fake feminists let kids get cut up while they pretend they are downtrodden cowards. Now, you adults is weird. Maybe this is one of those kids impacted by the manosphere. By the way, great documentary. Don't understand why people are so upset about it. Fucking weird. I hate two-faced lying bitches who think they are more important than kids. You are so far beneath kids, it's indescribably hilarious. You think you are above them. At this point, I said, mate, I think you actually need medical help. You might be having some sort of episode. In respect of the treatment of women in underage marriages and grape gangs, maybe think deeply into what others do. Them who live in glass houses should not throw stones. The fuck does that mean? What? Well, I haven't talked about that. It's so weird that, like, the amount of comments where people are like, what about the rape gangs? What about the fucking Epstein rape gang? What about that? Why don't they care about that? You notice how the people obsessed with rape gangs don't actually care about real dangers to women or about the Epstein list. Why is that? Weird, right? You are truly misinformed and are just following the MSM narrative. What does that mean? Does anyone know what MSM is? Because it just made me think MSN. And I miss being able to nudge people who don't respond to me immediately. You are wrong. I am a mother with a daughter. I will vote reform or restore. Hadn't heard of restore until this week. It's led by someone who was suspended from reform, which gives me an inkling into how fucking awful he must be. Any other party definitely does not have the British interests at the forefront of any decision made. I don't care about British interests. Which is funny because I always considered myself a one nation conservative. But right now, British interests are not important to me. What's important to me is things like bodily autonomy and just general safety, the ability to afford to feed my children. Those are things that are important to me at the moment, you know, actual issues, not the made up ones. On the other side of the pond, are you mad? After Joe Biden, did you not see the difference? To which I said, old and sleepy versus old, senile and psychotic. Yes, I do see the difference. Donald Trump isn't senile. Joe Biden definitely was. Again, if you think Donald Trump is senile, you need to give your head a wobble. Throwing out accusations left and centre, lol. Left and centre? That's actually quite funny. That's quite clever. I like that. Senile and then being able to manipulate people, etc., doesn't go together. This video is unbelievably dumb. Yes, because here's the thing about dementia is sometimes people are lucid. Sometimes they're lucid. Also, the manipulation already happened. It's already manipulated people. And so now they just listen to anything and everything he says because he's already got them. So even though he's making these fucking insane rants and saying stupid shit that doesn't make any sense, they just go, yeah, that's our president. What about rights of boys/men? Why is that never mentioned? Because that's not what this specific clip from a 1-hour YouTube video is about. Which I would have thought was pretty obvious. Why do you have to mention white in capitals? That sounds racist to me. Yes, we have British men who are bad as well as men coming into the country. Don't have to mention colour, but going back to 70s, 80s, 90s and even 2000s, I never felt unsafe in Britain. What's changed? If you've never felt unsafe, then that's just showing your privilege. Congratulations. Because, I mean, I wasn't around for the 70s and 80s, but the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. Are you, what? You think it was safe? Wow, that must be a nice privileged little bubble to live in. She talks nonsense. Communism brings stupid people. They kill all the intellectual and educated people. Fascism is the opposite. They recruit doctors, scientists, musicians. This lady is the most uneducated person I have ever heard. Please shut up. Well, that's interesting because Donald Trump's fascist dictatorship seems to be full of fucking imbeciles. So where are the intellectuals and educated people that he should be recruiting for his fascist government? Also, just generally fucking weird to be advocating fascism. No? Right? Oh. I think you are very, very confused. If you have daughters, you want restore, else your daughters will be at risk. If you can't see that, you are very lost. Okay. You have a dog shit opinion. You're fucking pitiful and never even held a gun. You're not even American, yet you're so obsessed that you're advocating political violence on Americans. Bet you're the type to have an anxiety attack doing mundane things. You're not tough, spelt with double F. Right. I mean, yes, I have anxiety attacks because I have PTSD. No, I've never held a gun. I always wanted to, but I don't think I should be allowed to hold a gun because we have strict gun laws and I've been admitted to a psych unit before. So I would assume I'm not allowed a gun, but also I live in a country where we don't prioritize guns over children. Funny, because looks like she's agreeing with it being okay to shoot somebody with a different point of view, even when they're just debating, which is exactly what she's doing, except that it's not though. And if you were to watch the full conversation on last week's episode, feel free to go check that out. That's not what I said, because I made it very clear I do not think Charlie Kirk was shot for his beliefs. I think he was shot for turning on Trump and calling for the Epstein files to be released. Do I think people should be shot for their beliefs? No. Am I going to be sad when a bad person dies? Also, no. Let's end this with a positive, though, because I did also have a comment saying, thank you. As a woman with a daughter, this is what I worry about too. And I'm tired of trying to have conversations with people who feel like they don't need to either. So amongst all the hate comments, that one comment from another mother who understands exactly how I feel about my fear for my daughters. It's worth it. Me and my friend Kim had a bit of a debate this week that she found utterly hilarious because I said, I forgot to hit the play button on the washing machine. Meaning this. Now, would you call this a play button? It's clearly a play pause symbol, right? She was like, no, it's a start button. I call it a play button. And I don't see what's wrong with that. So I would like to know other people's opinions on whether or not there's anything wrong with saying play the washing machine. I learned something interesting about the Statue of Liberty. There is a plaque at the Statue of Liberty. I believe it's inside the base. Sorry if I'm wrong on that. Which I find quite fascinating because it just kind of proves the fact that America have come so fucking far from being the land of the free. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbour that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she. With silent lips give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse from your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is from 1883 by somebody called Emma Lazarus. And I mean, how can anyone read that and not see that it is clearly saying asylum seekers welcome here? Come. Be free. And now you want to turn around and go, oh, no, not the brown ones. You've got too much of a tan. Sorry. As always, thank you for watching. Next week, Kim is going to be back as my guest and we're going to be celebrating her birthday. I'm very excited. Stick around for the weekly tarot, and if not, I will see you next week. I had a little bit of a look at the cards last night and they seemed pretty positive, so let's see how this goes. Page of Cups. Upright, creative opportunities, intuitive messages, curiosity, possibility, happy surprise, dreamer, sensitivity, and new love. Not sure about that bit. Happy surprise sounds nice though. New love doesn't have to mean romantic love. The Sun for present. Upright, positivity, pleasure, happiness, vitality, fun, joy, warmth, celebration, success, rebirth. All is well. Yes. The Two of Swords. Oh no. Difficult decisions, weighing options, avoidance, deadlock. All upright this week, which is pretty amazing, but then we had to end on a negative. Weighing options, avoidance, and deadlock. Oh dear. See you next time.